We will be bringing charges against 8 individuals this morning, 7 of whom are Florida residents. As a dad of 3 little ones, it's tough to talk about some of this stuff, but what these guys were doing was truly heinous. There's not a word in the English dictionary that can describe the gross content that was on the videos. Our investigators have been able to get their hands on over 1 million videos showing sexual abuse on minors. Many of these individuals were babies that are being sold around the world. The 2023 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports over 36 million instances of suspected child sexual exploitation and over 100 million files related to child sex abuse material. And that's only what's getting reported. This continues to be a problem in our country, in our state. Protecting our kids is not an easy task to begin with. And today, with the access to the internet and social media, it allows these sick predators to more easily get access to our kids. And as I've said, my first 5-6 weeks on the job here, that's going to be a major priority for my office. The individuals that are being busted today that purchase this harmful content, many of them found it through TikTok. It was available online. They found access to a portal where they could purchase this dangerous material. TikTok has shown they can very quickly get stuff off their website. If there's unlicensed music or something going around, they've proven with a flip of a switch they can get it off. And it's taken too long for them to get some of this pornographic material and avenues to purchase harder, more gross content. We've got to get them to be more accountable. So we will be working on that. We are going to hold social media companies accountable that want to put our families and our kids in jeopardy. So today, these 8 defendants are being charged with multiple felony counts, including RICO, money laundering, and purchase of child pornography. Again, I can't tell you in words how gross this content is, but it shows the dangers, the evil that's out there. It is truly evil. And you've got my word that in this state, we are going to do everything we can to hold these people accountable. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again. And I hope you certainly never have access to kids again.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
I'm Enzo.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Kelly.
We have Kelly Corinne from the Kelly Corinne Show, everybody's favorite FBA. And tonight we are going to be talking about some FBA issues as well as my least favorite subject, but a very important subject of child sex trafficking. Unfortunately, it is a very real thing. As you guys can see in that intro clip here in the great state of Florida, they cracked down. They found a sex trafficking ring. Doesn't surprise me. Unfortunately, we have cruises, we have Disney, we have Universal. So it makes sense that the pedophiles would come here. Gray, as my other Florida resident on the line, what's your thoughts?
I mean, once Jeffrey Epstein was here, and I mean, Florida is definitely a hot spot for people that want to come and do crazy stuff. That's why you had a Florida man joke that goes around with anything that happens with Floridians. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that there's a lot of crime here as far as, involving sex cases.
Kelly, 1 million images. What are your thoughts? Where were the million images from? Who are these children? Mm-hmm.
I thought that was so absolutely horrible. And, I saw a documentary. A lot of these kids, like people think like, who are these kids? I think a lot of these kids are foster kids that's, illegal immigrant kids. I mean, 1,000,000 images. That's bananas. And you know they was all on the dark web. You know that's where they was selling them to. Disgusting.
Enzo, as a former Floridian, what's your thoughts? You know, how do we know, who to be careful of? Like, what do you think are some red flags?
So I think it's absolutely disgusting. Anything with children whatsoever, disgusting. It's kind of unfortunate because somebody within my family is actually incarcerated for child pornography too. So it's crazy. Like, and we spoke about it. Like, I spoke to the mother of said individual, and they sit here and try to defend it, and I'm like, that's crazy, which I don't understand because it was thousands of files, not one, not two. I was like, okay, one or two, fine. Maybe it got on your computer from malware or whatever it is. I was like, you could kind of make some type of excuse like that, but I was like, thousands? No, he knew exactly what he was doing and what he was using that for. And I go, I hope he never sees the light of day or comes in contact with me ever. Like, it's disgusting. People like that, they do not deserve to see the light of day. I'm all in favor for, and anybody like that, straight up death penalty. Sorry to say.
They trade the images. Like, I watch a lot of Chris Hansen. They trade the images. And right now the thing is, and I'm on Telegram because they have like channels, but I've been seeing on Chris Hansen, they've been messaging kids on Telegram, Roblox.
Chris Hansen, what he does.
Roblox, yep.
What's the other one? But Skeet Hansen, that the dude on YouTube.
They're hilarious. And Gideon. Yeah.
Yep. They're great. I've been watching them lately. Like, I don't know why. It just popped up on YouTube. I've been watching those episodes lately.
Yeah, Gideon and him, they do a lot of videos together.
Y'all remember Jared Fogle from Subway?
Yes.
He had the child pornography too.
I watched the documentary.
Yeah, I just watched it too on HBO, right?
Yes. Sick. So, I mean, y'all gotta watch that documentary. That was crazy. That was really crazy. It was so gross.
One of the craziest parts is he asked the chick that he was talking to, he said, "Will you do anything for me?" And then he was like, "Will you put a camera in one of your children's room? And it doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy you pick." Like, it was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a side piece too, guys, because he was married. So the other clip I have about this issue, guys, and I wish more Democrats were on the line because, Gray is pretty reasonable. He doesn't believe in conspiracy theories. But this was one of Trump's talking points when he was on the campaign trail about the child sex trafficking. And let me play these clips and we can give a reaction.
But not well enough that I'd be getting phone calls. And he told me that he was in Budapest at the time. This was right hours after the invasion. And he said he supports a bunch of orphans in Ukraine and he was worried about them. And he asked if I could help get them out. So now I've got 12 from my wife. I got 13 others from Mel Gibson. And I'm thinking, okay, I got this list of kids I got to get out. I told Mel, I said, you got to help me. This is going to be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? Let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was going to be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries that's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were because of the chaos caused by war. And more importantly, and more frightening to me, was the fact that I know that human trafficking is a $32 billion a year business. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. And I also know how kids get forced into that market. And it's through vulnerable situations like in the aftermath of a hurricane, mostly in a developed country, or an earthquake, or in this case, a war.
My district, you gotta be really bad, okay, to get arrested in Holland. They were arrested in 2020, fugitives. They ran, and they were hiding. No one knew who they were. Well, they rear their ugly heads. The leader, this guy named Nelson Matterlin, he raises. I'm literally in Poland at the time. at our staging operation for Ukraine, and I get this information that this guy in Mexico is trying to traffic kids out of Ukraine. And so I go undercover. The Dutch asset who gave me that information infiltrated me, and I'm undercover talking to this guy. Well, in the end, we ended up, in fact, just yesterday, 2 of the guys were convicted in Ecuador because it led us to Ecuador, a child sex hotel, these pedophiles from Holland and set up. But we'll get into that another time. Okay. But the point I'm making is I had to study their literature. This was a political platform. This was a political party. And what I started recognizing is I named them I call it the pedophile network doctrines. Okay. It's like they include things like separate children from parents because parents are a bad influence. The state knows best. Sexualize kids. Let them see pornography. 2.
Karl Marx.
3, take God out of education because that just gets in the way. And kids consent. Children can consent to anything. At 12 years old, they should be able to vote. They should be able to do anything. Now, what am I seeing here? My stomach is getting sick as I'm reading this. I read this every day. It's the woke left agenda. I'm not saying that they're colluding or talking. It doesn't matter. It's the same dark source. But they are pedophiles are sitting back right now going, we've been pushing this agenda for decades. And now we don't have to push anymore because the left is taking care of it for us in America. And this whole trans voice on children. Again, I'm libertarian. Adults, do what you want. I'll fight for your right to do whatever you want. Okay. In terms of adult, I'm talking about children. Yeah. And what they're saying is children can consent to having their bodies filled with a chemical that will destroy the reproductive system. Yeah. They can consent to ripping apart their genitalia. Like, this is insanity. Why? In and of itself, it's horrible. But what it's going to lead to is what the pedophiles have been asking for. If you can consent to that, guess what? What's more fluid than gender? Age.
What are these wristbands?
I don't know what they are.
You don't know what they are. Mr. Secretary, you have just testified to the American people you're incompetent at your job because I've been to the southern border, and if you go to the southern border, along the southern border, you see thousands of these wristbands because the illegal immigrants wear them. The drug cartels, every color corresponds to how many thousands of dollars they owe the cartels. You have turned these cartels into multi-billion-dollar criminal organizations, and these are modern-day leg irons because these are children being sold into sex slavery, and you don't even know what they are. That is astonishing. Mr. Secretary, how many children have been sold into sex slavery under your administration?
Senator, we are taking it to the cartels.
How many children have been sold into sex slavery? Do you know how many children have been sold into sex slavery?
To an unprecedented degree.
Mr.
Oh, it's amazing and astonishing the level of ignorance and blindness that we have in this country because people will tell us as Republicans, as Trump supporters, we are crazy for knowing what's happening at that border. Kelly, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm not even gonna, because I know people make jokes and say this is the Democratic Party. I truly believe the vast majority of Democrats do not agree with this. I really believe that. But the problem is they are not taking a stand, and because they are not taking a stand, their representatives are voting for all of this weirdo woke stuff. And I'm not just making this up. There have been studies done. Like, I want to say, as far as like girls, transgenders playing against females, I want to say like 74% of the country doesn't agree with that. So clearly that's a lot of Democrats that don't agree with it. Now the far lefties that you're talking about, because I know who you're talking about. I've seen them, these people on lives on TikTok. I think that there's some type of spiritual blindness because I don't know how do you not see the news? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you not see any of this? Like, I think they're lying. That's what I think. I think they're like in a gang. Like, even though they're in the Democratic gang, they're in the Democratic Party gang. Like, they like blood in, blood out. Like, they feel like because they can't leave, they got to just say, oh, it's not happening. That's the only thing I could think of.
Gray, as the Democrat on the line, what do you think about the clips you saw? I'm not trying to force you into saying you think it's real or not. They're real clips that really happened at Congress about a couple of years ago. I think it was like a year or two ago.
So it's a lot to unpack here, but I'll start from the last one to the next one. So first with Ted Cruz, he said these are from people trying to come across the border, and that he asked them how many children were sold into sex trafficking. I don't think they have a number on that. Some of these people are committing crimes, so I'm pretty sure there's all types of crimes that are being committed, including sex trafficking. As far as the other guy saying that the Democratic agenda is the same as the pedophilia agenda, I don't know if I'm using the right terms. You can say this agenda matches this agenda based on whatever. Like, people hate that Republicans are called a racist agenda, but then you can take evidence and say that, well, this is a racist agenda. So, like, I don't necessarily think either party has a connection to this big criminal organizations like some people try to say it, but I'm pretty sure there's always some type of truth to something.
So the reason why I played the reason why I played both clips to connect it, guys, is because there were a million images. Who are these children? Are they children in my home? Are they children in the next person's home? Or are they from the border? Are they what you say, foster care? You know what I'm saying? So they're coming from somewhere. So that's why that was relevant to now. Enzo, what's your thoughts?
So I think it's absolutely disgusting, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's the Democratic Party, this is their agenda, but I mean, there are things within the Democratic agenda and the woke agenda that's been going on in the last 4 years, aka the gender theory that you can pick and choose your gender, like how they said, what's more fluid than your gender or your age. That's 100% what I'm seeing it as, because if one person could say they're whatever gender they want to be, you could say whatever age you want to be at this point, and you get some freak that would be like, oh, well, I identify as a 12-year-old, so I should be able to, be around and touch little kids because I identify as 12. No, that's not how that works. And with the whole sex, the rings and everything like that, I'm going to look at the border exactly. I'm not going to say, like, we know how many of them are getting sold into slavery or sex slavery. But what about the 395,000 children that went missing under the Biden-Harris administration over the last 4 years?
And it's been confirmed that the government trafficked those kids. That's not a conspiracy theory. There have been whistleblowers that have, blew the lid off of that. Exactly. So yeah.
And then I'm gonna throw Trump into the mix too, of him wanting to take these down, because let's look at what happened with Epstein. He's been trying to distance himself from Epstein since 2004 when Epstein first got indicted. Obviously, he found out something that was going on that island. If he either wants to clean himself for whatever we think could have happened on the island with him, or we don't know what happened on because, I mean, there's no clear indication that Trump's been to that island. So I'm going to say, yeah, he has nothing to do with it. But I mean, all right, we throw Democrats back into the mix. Look at Bill Clinton on that list, on that island. It's not that far-fetched to think about. But I'm not going to say all Democrats are like that. I'm not saying that's the Democratic agenda to be all pedophiles. No.
So I'll say this. I think their agenda is to be inclusive and open. But if the Bible, and I got to bring up the Bible. The Bible talks about a wall without borders, a city without borders, a city without walls. If you don't have principle, you fall for anything. And that's the issue that I have with the Democratic Party. You can't be so inclusive. You can't be so open, because then you open up yourselves again to what Enzo and Kelly said.
Right. And the problem, I think, too, they keep putting people in the forefront that shouldn't be in the forefront, that reflect, and I'm going to say it, negatively of the party. Meaning, you got what's that fella's name? The one, Tim McBride. Now goes by Sarah McBride. I'm seeing him you turn on the Democratic National Convention. It's a lot of effeminate gay men. I have no problem with gay men. I got, gay male friends, but it'll be guys that are very flaming, or they will be hosting a TV show. And for me, I just think it kind of turns normal people off from the party too. Why are you pushing them forward? That's weird to me.
Unfortunately, they put them out front, but you have men like Gray that are strong men. He served in the military.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate. that they put those up instead of people like Gray.
That's my point. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
Mm-hmm.
why are y'all pushing this half of a 1% of a population when you have, like you said, a normal black guy, father, husband,
Mm-hmm.
family? Why not have him be the face of the party? It's like they purposely, in my opinion, you're trying to lose elections. You trying to look like the freak party. Last administration, you had that cross-dressing dude, Sam Britton, with the bald head that stole that African woman's clothes and was on a red carpet. You had what's the other one? Rachel Levine, the transgender head of the HHS. Why would we want a mental health person to be the head of the HHS? It was a freak show. It's crazy.
Gray, I'm gonna let you do the last word before we move on to the next topic, because the next topic actually has to do with you again. So I'll have you kick it off. What is your thoughts on everything we said? Do you have a rebuttal or a response?
Yeah, so the way that it's been described to me, and I think this makes sense, is that basically the right wing Republicans are more concerned with tradition and more concerned with things being in order and about culture. So to use like the border as an example, they're more like, no, 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 these people could come and kill us. They could take stuff from us. They could harm us. Where you have the left wing party who's saying we're more progressive. We need to like go past all these old ways, get past the old ways, and maybe these people from other places can like help us and build trade and build money. And Democrats are also more like, just care about injustices. So like I feel like the reason those people are put up front is because they're considering that particular minority group the ones that's being uh, accosted or haven't been marginalized in society.
Right. So Gray, we about to put you on the spot again. Your girl Jasmine Crockett opened her mouth. I don't know why. It's interesting. She has not opened her mouth on the other topic we're going to talk about tonight. But let me play this clip and we can do reactions.